Hi there, this is Arden Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for the Thing from Fantastic Four. This is to go with the rest of my Fantastic Four set, and this is an advanced level project. For this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you using a double loom. So it has 6 rows across, and they are all at a level. I will be demonstrating a couple of parts on the single loom, just because my single loom's a little stronger, and it's basically the same thing, but you can do this, the arms and legs on the single or on the double. I'll be doing one arm with you and one leg with you and getting you to pause. And as for materials, I would recommend having 2 or 3 hooks on hand, orange bands or brown, like a caramel you could use, navy for the legs, black for the boots, or you can use the body skin color for the boots instead if you'd prefer. And for the eyes, I used small pony beads the first time. I'm going to use small pearl beads this time, and I'll be drawing the pupils on with a black Sharpie. So we're ready to start. As I said, I have one arm ready. We'll do the second one together. And you're going to take your loom with 3 rows. You can use the full one. And we're coming from the top center to the second. Come outwards once. Come back to the opposite side. Double bands, double bands. And we will be coming down 4 times with double bands on each of the first 3 rows here. I say first 3 because if you're doing this all in the double loom, the wider one, we can just do this on the side here. Now we're going to come down 2 times using double bands on the farthest of our 3 rows, and 2 times with double bands on the middle of the 3. Take 2 bands, bring it from your 5th side to your 6th center. Now we want 2 more sets of double bands on these 2 secondary rows here. The right one and the middle one. Come out again from, okay, this is our 7th peg down in the center. We're coming down diagonally to the side, and we're going to reach it back in from that same peg. This is our 9th peg down, I believe. Oh, our 8th peg, into that 9th in the middle. We want to create a small side extension so that our hand is rounded out. And for that, we're taking a single band, wrapping it twice, pulling it onto 2 sets of double bands. You're going to take the bands that are on your hook, turn your loom around here, place this on the 3rd peg from where you ended. This is your 7th peg down. Put your hook in where the cap band was and bring that to the bottom peg that was used. And we grab one piece out of the center chain and place it over that second to last peg on the side. Now we're ready for our holding bands. So get an orange, double it over, stretch it from the bottom one and across. And we're actually going to do these really tight, so if you can, you're going to go inside and bring it around a 3rd time, a 3rd wrap. Our next one is going to be doubled over, and we stretch it across the next group of 3. Bring it back so it's doubled. You can do this on your hook or right on the loom. actually going to turn this around again. Our next two sets are going to be triple banded. So take a single, unwrap it twice so that you have 3 loops over those 2 pegs. And again, wrap it once, twice, 3 times, as tight as it can go. And for this next one, we're going to wrap it once, twist, bring it back, and when you get to the bottom, twist it one more time and bring that around this one on the side. If you can't manage that, that's okay, it's not terrible. It will just give it that tiny bit of added tension. For our last 3 rows, we're taking singles, stretching them, and doubling them. And you can do this on your hook, on your finger, or directly on the loom. Any which way is fine. Except my way seems to be making the bands go flying. Okay, come to the bottom of your loom. We're gonna reach inside, under. We'll start on this side. We're going to come under this tripled over capping band, find the top 2 bands and bring them up, back diagonally. Find your next 2, loop them up, and loop up, loop in from the side, loop up again, push back your caps. Let's go to the other side. We're going to reach in and we're going to find the 2 bands that are on the bottom and pull those up through the others. Get your next 2 bottom bands, loop them up, and we're going to go straight to the top on each of the rows now. And don't forget we have to bring our side piece up here. Then it's a straight loop. Okay, so you can pick a row or you can go back and forth between the different rows as long as you get all of the bands in order, upwards, moving upwards. You can see I'm holding my loom steady. We have a lot of tension here, so you want to do this carefully. We're always getting inside of those capping bands, or holding bands rather. When you get to the center, we're going to loop inwards from either side. Take 2 bands, orange or skin color, and we are going to pull them through the bands that are on the center. Push your hook through, keep the open part facing away. Catch those 2, slide them up onto your hook, and remove from the loom. You can use the hook to take it off, but we've made it pretty tight, so it should hold together decently if you do this slowly. And put this onto another hook, and we will start on our legs. So we start our leg almost the same as with our arm. It's going to be pretty similar. We take 2 bands of blue and go from your top center to your top right, and 2 more from the top center to the top left. We'll come down on each of our 3 rows 5 times with double blue bands. So here is 1, 2, keep going until you have 5 sets. And get your black ready. we're going to come down with double bands twice on the 2 side rows. So the far one, or the 2 rows on this side, I should say. So on the far row and on the middle one, take 2 black bands, come from your 6th left to your 7th center. And we want 2 more sets of double bands to come down on either of the 2 far rows here. Grab double bands and come from that 5th peg from the bottom of your loom and down to even it out with where the other 2 rows have ended. We're going to take a single and double it and stretch it across from the center to the side, and another one doubled center to the side. Then we place a black cap band on the bottom corner and wrap it 2 or 3 times. And all of our caps again are going to be doubled over bands. I'm going to use, or triple for the two pegs, and double for the 3 peg. We'll be using blue from here upwards and black underneath. So take a black, put it over that those bottom 2, loop it twice so that you get 3 loops. And repeat for the 2 sets just above. Now we switch to blue, as I said, and we're going to just double these all over. Bring it across all 3, twist it, bring it back over itself, just as we did with the arms. And 2 to go. We don't have to put a cap or a holding band on the very top one, of course. We'll start looping in a minute. Just if you're going to race ahead of me, when you get to the very top, just hang on because we're going to do the top section a little bit differently. Now we come to the bottom, we get under our cap, we find the top 2, or the top band, which is doubled over, so you'll see 2 loops there. We're going to bring that back over to the side that it came from. I'm going to have to turn this sideways. I think it's hard to reach this way. Okay, so we loop those back. We're going to loop the next 2 back to the other side. And we need to get these side diagonal ones, loop those up. And then we loop up 3 times on either of the 2 side rows. So that's the middle one and the one on the right. Just stay under those holding bands again, as we always try to do. Get this next diagonal band, bring that up over and back to where it came from, and now we're going to loop up to the top of the loom across each of our rows. And stop when you get to the top. Last row. Oops. Have a little slippage there. Let's fix that. Now this time what we're going to do is take the bands from the center and bring them outwards. So find the top two, bring them back to the left. And the next two, bring them over to the right. This part's a little bit tricky. You'll want to have one of those extra hooks on hand, because what we're going to do is we're going to take two bands, blue bands, pull them through the bands on the top side and place those on a hook, and then come to the other side, take two more blue, slip those through the bands on your top right corner. This is another reason why I opted to do this part on the single loom instead of the double, is it gets awkward getting in there with on the double loom. Put this onto your hook and we can pull this off of the loom. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to pause your video, make a second arm, make a second leg, and come back, we'll do the body. So we're ready for the head, and for this you need your double loom, which has 6 rows across, and they're all at an even level. We're going to start with 2 orange bands coming from the 3rd row in, down once, and the next one, the 4th row, come down once. So this is right in the middle. This is going to be our attaching neck part. And we go across the 2 of those with double bands. And we're going to loop out to the side, come out to the side with 2 sets of double bands going to the right and 2 sets going to the left. Now this next part, it's a pretty straightforward layout, but it is going to take us a little bit of time to get all these bands down. We need 5 rows coming down on each of these sections with double bands. And we come down 5 times. That sounded a little awkward. We're coming down 5 times on each of the rows using doubles. 3, 4, and 5. This gives us almost the same effect that we would get with body extension, except we're going to have a little extra thickness in here. Now I've played around a little bit with ways to create muscles for him for his chest, and they all came out looking a little bit funny. So if you have any ideas that work, let me know. In the meantime, we're going to do a basic flat chest for him today. Three more rows. I don't like to work with my double loom very often. I find my smaller one, my thinner one, is a little sturdier and a little less awkward to move around. But the only other way I know to do this kind of a pattern is by shifting the rows around on your loom, and that tends to do damage to the loom. So this time we're going to do this, like I said, with the crazy big set. And we'll get the same effect. It'll all be good. After this, we want 2 rows of double blue bands. So 2 sets for each piece here. I can mention for you now, we're going to be doing the head on our loom as well, but we'll get to that shortly, of course. One of the nice things about this, the way this is set up here, is we won't have to do bands across the bottom because we're going to be putting our legs on in a minute. Let's do our arms first. We take 2 of the 4 bands that you see on the hook per arm, and they'll go on the second peg down on the side, and the other 2 go on the next peg down. So on the second, and the other 2 onto the third. And it shouldn't matter too much which way it's facing here. Okay, like so. And go to the other side, flip it around, do the same thing. Now grab the hook that has your legs, and this part you gotta pay attention. We're going to separate it into 4 sections, 4 groups of 2, and you're gonna place them onto the first 4 pegs across. So 2, 2, 2, and 2. And if you can keep them in order, all the better. It looks really stretchy now, but you know, it all kind of compresses once it comes off the loom. Push that out of the way a little bit. And we're going to take our other leg, and we'll do the same thing, but we're coming from the other side. So now we go on the first peg, the second, the third, the fourth, 2 bands on each. And it is supposed to overlap. Don't panic if you see more than 1 set per peg. Let's put some holding bands. We're just going to use single straight bands. You'll match up the color to the row, take a single, stretch it all the way across, just like so. And we do that for each row that you see here, except for the top 2 on the loom. So you'll have 4 orange rows and 3 blues, I believe. 2 blues. And we are going to literally just loop up each of the rows until you reach that second row from the top. Get under your first foot place, take your 2, bring them up and over, push back that holding band, next 2 up and over. This is possibly the longest part, or the longest process in this design here. Push back the arm and come up. And then we go under the next foot, the next leg piece. Take your next 2, bring those up. And repeat all the way. I'm just gonna hold my loom and loop this up. And we'll do this part in quiet, I guess. And halfway there. I like the little twings they make. It's like one of those kids' toy guitars that you make with the little elastics across the Kleenex box. That's what the twang makes me think of. And last row, here we go. And the other arm, get underneath, pull up the bottom two only. We're going to loop inwards twice from the sides, so get under the arm, loop the first two in, second two in, and from the other side, come in twice. And we are going to loop up. Actually, let's take those last two bands here, which I'm having a hard time getting a fix on. The two bands that are going across here, we're going to get those and bring those over once, if we can reach it. A lot of bands here to see, huh? Lots of orange. And now we can loop up the last two sets. Do not take those last two sets off the loom. You'll lose everything if you do, at least potentially. We are going to remove the rest of this though. So hold on to the bands on your top two pegs. Grab a sturdy hook and use the back of it to take this off. We're going to start at the sides, at the top, and come down. This part you do want to be careful. Let's go to the other side and pull those off. Now you can fast forward ahead a little bit if you're getting through this faster. I'm gonna try to take my time, and this might be a minute here. I thought of fast forwarding through, but I figured we would do this part together and you could also see the order in which I'm removing this. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start, or you feel like pulling it from the bottom and then pieces get a little bit sticky. If you do have any loose bands at this point, you can kind of pull them to the side, tuck them in a little bit, put them on a C-clip if you'd like. Now you're going to take the bands that are remaining on the top two center pegs, put them onto a hook, and take the last of your body off. Okay, give it an adjustment there. And we can start on our head. Now our head is using orange bands, needs orange bands as well. We're going to start on the center two, come across with double bands, come down diagonally once on either side, so fourth from the first row to the fifth on the second row, if you're counting across, and repeat, going the other way down. Two sets of double bands coming down on the fourth row and on the second row. And we're going to come inwards diagonally, come down again. So this is going to be sort of a square kind of oval shape. And we come down 4 times in the middle 2 rows, double bands. Let's come across here first with doubles on the bottom. Continue down the middle. And we're going to take single bands to stretch across the 4. Not sure where that went. Bring it all the way across. And again, and one last time. Grab your eyes. I'm going to put mine on my band right away, but if you have them on your hook already, then you can put those onto an orange. And we're going to put those across the, well, I'll show you in just a second. Let me show you first if you're using one of the pony beads, small or large, you put it on a hook, you put it onto a single orange, and this will come from the 2nd on your center to the 3rd on your center, and you repeat that on the next set, and that will get your eye pointing the right way. And we'll do this, I think we will do the same thing, the same fitting for our small round beads, or for bands. If you're using bands, you can do them, have them come across. My bead doesn't have a large enough hole, we're going to grab a new one. Okay, if you're using a bead with a small hole, the technique, again borrowed from Delicious Designs, is to put your dental floss or thin wire through. Put it through the band, bring it back, and pull it till it's on. And we'll do the same thing. We'll put this down from the center 2nd to the center 3rd. And do the same next to it. Get another bead. We need to thread this on. Grab another orange, place it. These just don't want to go on today, huh? Well, look at it. Just one more second here. I think it's almost time for some new dental floss for me. This one's starting to get frayed. Ah, perfect. Okay. And we can add our neck on in 1 second. So you have 2 sets of 4 here. We're going to put 1 set onto that 3rd row, 5th peg down, and 1 onto the next one, 5th peg down. So 1 set of 4. I'll show you this in just a second. 2 sets. We've just divided them between these 2 pegs. Take your hook, and we're gonna get under the body. Find your top two and loop them upwards. Top two under the other section and loop it up. I'll hold this up for you 1 second. You can see I'm sort of holding the body in place here because there are a lot of bands. We don't want to lose them. You're gonna find your diagonal bands. Find your diagonal bands and loop those up to the side. This might be a case where we need to pull it over to see it better. I think that's what I'll do on this side. Turn your loom, and we loop straight up 2 times on each of our rows now. And stay under those cap bands. I'm going to loop one last time up on the middle ones. You can wait into that last if you want, it doesn't really matter. And loop up your diagonals on the side. Take these last 2 bands and you're going to pull them through from one side and up over the other. So now all of the bands have come to meet here. You're going to take 1, or if you'd like 2 bands, and we'll place them through that very last top center peg, which has everything. Put your securing band on carefully, pull it up through, put one end over the other to create a slip knot. And once more, we carefully remove from the loom, holding onto the slip while holding onto the slip knot. Straighten everything out. We're gonna pop the eyes through and find where you want them to be here. If you have any loose bands, you can tuck them in at the back. I'm gonna put my securing band at the back, and I have a couple of loose pieces here. We'll tighten those up a little bit. I'm just pulling this under a couple of other pieces. Make it a little tighter and place that on a C-clip. If you have used beads and you'd like to add your eyes, this is a good time. We'll just do a couple of little dots. And if you would like to make a little silver symbol for his Fantastic Four, that goes right around his belt line, and I'll quickly show you how you can do that with a couple of grays. So if you just want a little bit of a kind of medallion here, we go through on the side, take a gray or silver, pull it back. We move our hook over a little further on the bottom, grab the band from the front and pull it through again. And you can add 1 or 2 more bands if you'd like. It's up to you, and this goes onto a C-clip and you are all done. Okay, let's lay them down. I'll let you see. I have the rest of the Fantastic Four team up on my channel. I hope you have a look. And I thank you for